Hello friends, and welcome to today's video. We're very excited to have an exclusive chat here with Bill. He is the VP of Communications for Holland America Line. Thanks for having the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you, and so glad we could host you on New Amsterdam this week.
It was amazing to get that special inside look of everything that's upcoming with Holland America, with new itineraries, and also tapping into your history with 150 years of sailing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's really exciting. So this is our 150th anniversary. In October, we celebrated the 150th anniversary of our very first voyage, a crossing that brought immigrants from Rotterdam to the New World, the United States. And now, since then, we've been celebrating in all sorts of ways. It culminates on April 18th, which is the 150th anniversary of when we became a company, and we will be having some big parties and a ceremony in Rotterdam. So we're really, really excited.
It sounds phenomenal. And just to kind of wrap your head around the length of time that is, that's phenomenal. I know you've been working on some specific projects with the city of Rotterdam to help guests learn about heritage. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project?
So our history is very much intertwined with the history of immigration from Europe to the United States and Canada. There's a large archive. The city of Rotterdam has a wonderful archive of our history as well as the history of the city. A lot of that history was lost in World War II, but thankfully some was saved for those archives. One of the things that we did was we gave the city our entire passenger lists that we were able to recover. So we have lists starting in 1900 through 1969, and they digitized all of it. So we had lists, as you can imagine. They put them in a computer fashion so that they are now searchable. And so if anyone wants to find out if their relatives immigrated on a Holland America Line ship, they can go to that website, type in their family name, and start to find out details, the date of the voyage, the ship that they were on, things like that. In that period, they would have gone through Ellis Island. And so we also have an entire exhibit now at Ellis Island that talks about Holland America Line history for the back end of that trip. But I would urge anyone who thinks they might have ancestors or friends who crossed over to go into the search function and see if by chance they have family members who came over on Holland America Line.
And what I think is cool about this is because when you're tapping into the history and tracing your lineage, sometimes and often you don't know necessarily what's out there. I think tracing your lineage in the past few years, of course, with other platforms that are out there, has become such a popular hobby for folks to do those deep dives, discover the opportunity and see what that path looked like for those past extended family members. With Holland America's extensive history here, being at 150 years, of course, their voyages looked very different from what Holland America is today. But that's the unique thing, I think, about this, is being able to see how the evolution of the brand. So this was very different. It wasn't cruising as we know it today, folks. It was, immigrating to the new world.
Yeah, when we first established our crossings 150 years ago, as you can imagine, completely different. The ships were built to carry a large number of immigrants. There was a sort of a first class for a small number of guests, but for the most part, it was for immigrants. And we tell an entire story. If you ever come on a Holland America Line cruise, the first night we do Origin Story, which is a production all about our origins. And one of the things that it gets into great detail about is how we built that experience to be a little different than what was happening at the time. Believe it or not, it was a competitive business for immigrants to decide which ship they would take over from Europe. So we did, both for competitive reasons as well as for the health and safety of those immigrants, we were the first to introduce 3 meals a day, hot meals that would have people leave their rooms so that they could eat and that the rooms could be clean, which was really important for health. And interestingly, when Ellis Island came into play, as more and more immigrants were coming to the United States, Ellis Island had a standard of health, and if you didn't pass, you couldn't come in. And so that proved to be very useful then, that those were passengers who were healthy and ready to enter the United States to eventually become citizens.
So if folks want to use this platform, can you walk us through a little bit of a guide of how you would encourage someone to where do they go? How do they navigate it? Do they need to know the name? Do they need to know the approximate year? How would they best utilize this to start the search process?
So they should start by going in the comments of your YouTube page so they can see the link, because the link is too long just to say out loud. But when you click on the link, the first thing you need to do is, assuming you're an English speaker like I am, is a Google Translate button at the top will pop up. Make sure you choose English. It's a Dutch website. Since it's the city of Rotterdam, but there is a translate function that works very well. So if you hit translate, it will become an English-speaking website, and then you will see a space to type in names. And the important thing is to keep trying for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you type something in and it's not exact, it won't pop up. So you may want to start with just the last name and see how many entries it brings back to you, and then start to narrow it down from there. The other thing that we've all learned as we search for family histories is the spellings of names changed. And so it helps if you know maybe the different variations of the family name, and how it might have been spelled in Europe versus in the United States, and that play around with those different spellings. You don't need to know the date. You do need to know that if they didn't travel between 1900 and 1969, they unfortunately won't be in that database. So my family came in the late 1800s. If they came on Holland America Line, which I don't think they did, their name is unfortunately not in that list because of the timing. But you can learn all sorts of things. I made a wonderful discovery in talking to my mom, who was born in the United States, but who took a summer trip to Europe in the early 50s, before plane travel was realistic for Europe, and it turns out that she crossed back and forth on Holland America Line. So I found her name in the database, and that was fun to take the screen grab and to share that with her. And then she shared with me the pictures of her time on that ship and in Europe. So it was pretty cool.
Bill, I'd like to share a story with you as well. On one of my most recent Holland America cruises, I was traveling on the new Satendam, and my goodness, we had a fabulous time. But what was really unique about that is I actually traced my heritage and my family lineage as well. Now, my family member did not travel on Holland America Line, but what was so unique about this is I had the opportunity to travel on a New England coast cruise, and we went to Halifax. In Halifax, they have an immigration museum there as well. So my excursion for the day was to buy a ticket into the museum, and they have an area there where you actually don't have to buy a ticket to use this facility, but you can go ahead and learn about tracing the lineage for those traveling into Canada, because it's the Canadian Immigration Museum. With that, I knew already that my great-grandpa had traveled across and immigrated, but with that, they actually had his name on file too. Wow. So the fact that it wasn't on a Holland America ship, but it was on a Holland America cruise, that I was able to go and have the same type of screen grab, seeing their name. And interestingly enough, you mentioned the name change as well. The surname had changed the spelling because, of course, they wanted to do the best to assimilate to the new culture, fit in. One of the coolest things about that experience then was going into the museum there afterwards, after I got a little bit more information and learning about the time period and traveling through and seeing all of what that experience was like for them. So if guests come on board a Holland cruise, there are New England cruises this year to Halifax as well. So if you want to do that and go check out that museum, not only is it other opportunities, if they didn't immigrate on a Holland ship, you can go and learn about that. So it's a really cool process, especially as family lineage is so popular to explore with the power of the internet, diving deep into what it was like for them, dates and everything. The knowledge we have now to see that is mind-boggling, and it's really nice to appreciate.
In my understanding, I don't know Canadian history that well, but that Halifax is sort of the Ellis Island of Canada, and so as people were coming over, if you were United States bound, you went through Ellis Island. If you were Canadian bound, you went through Halifax. You
went through Halifax, or you actually went through Quebec City, and that's actually the story of my great-grandpa, because he went through Quebec City. So even though I was researching in Halifax and using their database, they were still able to pull that up through Quebec City because it was another area where they came in as well. So,
and did your Holland America Line cruise end in Quebec City?
It did.
Okay, good. So you got to see both ends of that. That's great.
Yeah, so absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait to explore and showcase for you guys at home. Let me know if you use the platform online to trace your lineage, and leave a comment for what you find as well. And I think that's going to be so fun for those who are interested in this.
I hope share those with us. We'd love to highlight those as well. We love hearing when people discover a little more about their family as they trace back the origins, and if that started in Rotterdam on Holland America Line. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. You guys, I can't wait to see the comments, to hear all about your lineage, whether it's on Holland America or not, but it's an opportunity for you to have some fun with it and get creative with all of the family stories. So very, very cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Remember to hit the thumbs up button, and until next time, ciao for now.